This new Mew EX could possibly break the game. So Pokemon revealed the big new fancy schmancy 30th anniversary set, and overall it's pretty cool. There's 30 different Pikachus, sure. Now we also saw a huge number of new cards revealed as well. Most of them are bad, like here's our 5th functionally unique Greninja EX. Sure. And we finally figured out what those weird Mew and Mewtwo cards were. They're actually supposed to be the special kind of rare called futuristic rares. I think these look cool enough, although a lot of people don't seem to like the art. I think the foiling will need to put in a lot of work to turn people's opinions around on this. But anyway, the more important thing, what do these cards do? Well, this Mewtwo could have like a funny deck built around it once the remaining Terra Pokemon rotate. But the real subject for today is Mew. Mew EX has a lot to unpack. First of all, for your treat. That's always really good. Second, 160 HP. That's really bad. This card joins the likes of Squawkabilly and Tatsugiri as the lowest HP EXs in the game. Is this card good enough to justify this? Well, the attack teleportation burst is nothing special, but the ability Memory Helix lets Mew EX use the attacks of any of your Pokemon in play provided you have necessary energy. A lot of people are talking about this. Being able to copy any attack like this could be super broken, and today I just want to see how we can possibly break it. Before we do that though, please subscribe. Anyway, the first thing to know is that this is not the first time Mew has had this kind of ability. There exist 2 previous Mew EX cards with the versatile ability. Now both of these guys could copy the attacks of your opponent's Pokemon as well as your own. So the new Mew EX has actually kind of had its ability weakened compared to those two. For some reason. I don't know why. We're mostly refusing to print good cards this year, but whatever. I don't think this is a total deal breaker in any case. Let's start by talking about why the other Mew EX actually saw play. Mew EX from EX Legend Maker has 90 HP, the versatile ability, and the power move attack which lets you accelerate energy onto Mew, then switch it with one of your bench Pokemon. This card is probably most known for its role in Mewtrick, the deck that Jason Klaczynski played to win the 2006 World Championships. This deck wanted to establish Manectric EX as quickly as possible to spam disconnect and item lock the opponents. For this, you really wanted to open an Electrike so you could get Manectric up and running on your second turn. Mew was essentially your 5th through 8th copies of Electrike and Manectric. If you open Mew instead of Electrike, you simply need to bench an Electrike and evolve it on your next turn, and Mew can copy Manectric's attacks as if Manectric were the one in the active. Essentially, this card was a huge consistency boost to the deck's primary strategy. However, the ability to copy opponents' attacks was still quite appreciated. This deck ran Holland's Magneton, which could attach itself to Mew EX to become 2 of any energy type. With a card like Magneton, it's very easy to copy anything you or your opponent might throw down. Furthermore, being a psychic type allowed Mew to be just a little bit safer into the fighting types that would hit Manectric for weakness. Mew was also a part of the Eevee deck that won the 2007 World Championships. Again, cards like Multi-Energy and Holland's Cast Form allowed for Mew to copy any of the wide variety of evolutions you were playing, as well as anything your opponent might have had. So what can we get from this? First of all, not being able to copy your opponent's attacks might actually matter a lot, but also we don't have much in terms of Rainbow Energy sort of cards. We have Prism Energy, and that's it. Now, Prism Energy works with only basic Pokemon, so using it on Mew to copy the attacks of an evolved Pokemon on the bench could be helpful. That might be a bit specific though. Munkidori is another psychic Pokemon that appreciates Prism Energy, so perhaps using it with Telepath could be something, but it's not like Mew here is going to survive a hit anyway, so it doesn't synergize that well with Munkidori. Now, the second Mew EX with Versatile comes from the 2012 set Dragons Exalted. Now, the thing about this card is that it got reprinted in 2016, so it was legal for a very long time. Here, Mew was primarily used alongside double colorless energy. Firstly, Mewtwo EX was easily the best card in the game and weak to Psychic. X-Ball was pretty common to use for a double colorless, and does 20 damage for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. If there are 5 energy between Mew and Mewtwo, that was an easy way to swing for a one-hit KO. Of course, Mew could also get KO'd right back by Mewtwo, so it wasn't exactly the perfect counter, but still, this card saw tons of play. It was used as an option in Night March decks to copy Night March, and Vespiquen decks to copy Bee Revenge. You could also copy Excelgor's Deck and Cover attack to use it without having to go through the trouble of evolving your Shelmet again every single time. In the Sun and Moon era, Mew EX could even copy GX attacks if you wanted it to. Of course, you had Rainbow Energy too, which enabled a whole bunch of other things, but that's, I think, going on a bit of a tangent here. For now, the main thing on my mind is double colorless energy. If we get a card like that, this Mew would be very good. Now, there are actually a ton of Mews that copy attacks. The Mew from Fates Collide could specifically copy the attacks of your own basic Pokemon, which makes it very similar to our Mew EX here, but that card was a single prizer, allowing it to be a lot more usable than our Mew EX. So instead, we're kind of stuck with this question of what exactly will Mew do? We have Prism Energy, of course, so any deck that runs a variety of different types can potentially make use of Mew. I think we'll at least see some experimentation for this card in Terra Box, Slot Box, all these other big basic piles you can dream up. Just throw a Prism Energy in there, bench whatever attackers you want, and Mew is off to the races. You can also combo this card with Lily's Clefairy to hit Dragapult for weakness, meaning every single deck in the game now has a way to hit Dragapult for weakness if it really wants to. That said, you are playing 2 low HP 2 prizers, which doesn't seem ideal, but I guess it depends on how desperate people get to defeat Pult. I've even seen people suggest using this with Clefairy in your own Dragapult deck so you can Phantom Dive the opponent. I feel like that's doing too much, but maybe that's just me. Mega decks, however, might like Mew. Since Megas give up 3 prizes when knocked out, having a 2 prizer that can copy their attacks might not be so bad. Lopunny, for example, can play Mew and retreat between Lopunny and Mew each turn. You can copy Gale Thrust and hit decks like Lucario for weakness. I don't know if this will be enough for Lopunny to truly beat Lucario, but it is a significant boost for an otherwise bad matchup. Of course, Lopunny's game plan kind of revolves around healing itself as much as possible, so while Mew could be good here, it being so frail might not fully align with our game plan. It's a little bit of a risk, but I think as long as you only save it for Psychic weak decks, this card will be pretty good. Now, speaking of Lucario, Aura Jab can accelerate energy onto this Mew, which can then copy Mega Brave to swing for 270. Being a Psychic type makes this card good into the Mirror match specifically, though whether it's good enough to justify playing is a little bit up in the air if you ask me. You also have Mega Venusaur. Since Venusaur can move energy around your board freely, it's very easy to charge up Mew to use whichever attack you like. Perhaps if there's an important attacker you don't want to lose, it can hide on the bench while Mew actually uses its attacks in the active. Steven's Metagross is another card I've seen people bring up. Metagross accelerates Metal and Psychic energy to your Psychic or Metal Pokemon, which makes it seem kind of like the perfect partner for setting up Mew. The issue with Steven's decks in general, though, I feel is that they're kind of inconsistent, and so having this Mew is kind of nice, but I'm not sure if that'll be the difference maker in terms of Steven's Metagross's viability. Beedrill is another card I've seen mentioned with this one. It's definitely not worth benching Mew if your opponent can't one-shot your Beedrills in the first place, but if they're gonna take an OHKO anyway, Mew can get knocked out without reducing your damage output at all. There are other decks such as Ethan's Typhlosion, which may consider running Mew just because I feel like that deck always runs out of Typhlosions and just sort of fizzles out from there. So having Mew as like another Typhlosion is maybe something. Additionally, any basic Pokemon with a 1 energy attack can get copied by Mew. That includes LGM, for example, that includes Maractus, for example. You could even copy Itchy Pollen if you really wanted to. So obviously with a card that can do so much, it clearly has the potential to be very strong. It just feels kind of difficult, at least for me, to get a read on how good it will actually be. Because firstly, the fact that we can't copy the opponent's attacks is a little bit of a shame. Again, I don't think that's the end of the world, but the other Mew EXs could do that, and the ability to copy opponents' attacks came up quite frequently. It would be great if we could copy Phantom Dive or copy Pheasantipiti's Cruel Arrow, but oh well. The 160 HP is very, very low. Again, I don't think it's a deal breaker, but these things do add up. It could be a bit of a problem. The free retreat is at least really good, but I do think another big issue is just the lack of good things to copy. Of course, this card probably has a spot in big basic decks thanks to Prism Energy, and I do think the Aura Jab Lucario combo is at least something worth experimenting with, but realistically, look at the special energy we have right now and compare that to the type of stuff that was available when the other Mew EXs were legal. It's just not as good. I do hope that somewhere deep within the set, there are some crazy competitive cards, like some really strong energy that can make Mew a very powerful card, but considering the quality of what's been revealed so far, I'm a little bit doubtful. It is a bit of a shame that we're seeing N get reprinted, but it won't be legal in our competitive format because, quite frankly, we would very much benefit from a card like N. I can hope that maybe that card is also given a proper reprint alongside the Noble Victories full arts, but I don't know. And then on top of that, of course, a reprint of Double Carlos energy or some other kind of energy that can help Mew get charged up more easily would go a really long way. So of course we'll see, but I'm kind of iffy on Mew. I think it could be really, really broken, but at the same time, I also feel just very not confident at all in its actual power level. It's clear that Creatures wants to lower the power level of the game right now, but it feels like every card that's come out recently has kind of sucked. It's a bit of a shame because the G regulation was kind of a modern golden age for the game. And so to see us get so many like weak cards with very limiting effects, like this Mew can't copy your opponent's cards, Oricorio can only attach to the bench, like all these really weird specific restrictions that make these cards way worse than they would be otherwise, kind of makes nearly every new deck feel just so clunky. It kind of sucks. Like, I don't know, print more cards that do functionally unique things, print more cards that have more effects, print more cards that are actually playable. Give me a reason to legitimately be excited for new sets. Because I mean, like, look at these cards. They're atrocious. What is this Umbreon supposed to do? Be so real with me. I don't know. I'm losing my mind. But this Mew is the one good card we had revealed in this entire set so far. So at least I have hope for this. Anyway, K, thanks, bye. Please subscribe.